Okay, now for the back brakes, this is an example of what tools you're going to need for the back. We're going to need, of course, a disc like this to clean up any kind of rust on the hub, some synthetic grease, some brake pads, a new hardware kit, a screwdriver, and a pry bar, a tool like this to push the piston back in. We're going to need a 14mm socket on a ratchet. We're going to need an 18mm socket on a ratchet. This is to take off the caliper. This is to take off the mounting bracket. We are going to need a pair of cutting pliers like this to take those clips off. And we're going to need something, whether it's a file or sandpaper or emery cloth, to remove any kind of rust that may be on the mounting bracket. And of course that nut to hold the to hold the rotor back on the vehicle while we're working. If you need it, you may not, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is, just like in the front, we're going to come over here, we're going to snap these clips off right here, and we're going to throw them away. They're then garbage. We are going to come in here with a pry bar through the back over in here. We're going to have the tip come out through there, and we're going to push that piston back into the bore as far as it'll go. This one is a little bit different than the front, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to remove that bolt right there, and we're also going to remove this bolt right over here. Those both are 14mm. We're going to take our caliper, relocate it up to this area right over here, and then we're going to take off the mounting bracket. And the mounting bracket, just so you know, oh, that's a lot better, isn't it? Okay, the mounting bracket, just so you know, is a 18mm bolt right there, and there's also another one down the bottom over here that we're going to actually have to remove here as well. All right, so let's get set up and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is those clips on here that we talked about. We're just going to get the clips like this, hook them, pull it, and we're going to break that clip off. And like I told you with the fronts, we don't need this. We're going to throw it away. That clip is actually just for during the building portion of the vehicle. After that, we don't really need it. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here with a small pry bar like this, put it through the back so that it sticks out right up in here, and then you just hold slight pressure on it. And you see how that piston pushes all the way back in? So now that piston is pushed in, and we don't have to worry about using this tool to recess that piston. Alright, so that tool we don't need. And at the same time, we're going to check these slide pins to make sure that they slide properly. And the way you do that is just slide it back and forth. You see how it slides? So it's nice and free, so we don't have to worry about anything with the slide pins being rusted. Now we're going to break these two 14mm bolts loose right here. This one and this one. Once they're broken loose, you just take them out by hand. Same thing here. Now sometimes when you take these out, I'll show you. Sometimes when you take these out, you see the hardware right here, the slide pins. Sometimes these slide pins will actually rotate while you're trying to unscrew it. If that's the case, you would just come in here with a wrench. I'm thinking it's a 18mm. It is probably 17, it's a little bit loose, but you would just hold it here while you rotate it out, but that's not the case. Right, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take out those two bolts in the back, those two 18mm bolts. So we're going to remove them, and they just break loose. Okay, we're going to take this off to the side. We are going to change the hardware kit here, but we'll come right back to that. When you take the rotor and you just rock it back and forth like this, then we take the rotor right off the car, truck I should say. Now if this was rusted inside here, you would need to clean this off, but this one is actually nice and clean. I know you can probably see something there, but there is nothing that you feel on here. It feels pretty decent, so we're not going to have to do anything with that. We're going to take our rotor now. this is your parking brake adjustment right here, and you come in through the back with a screwdriver to adjust it, but we'll see how that goes. All right, now we'll put our rotor back on. All right, so that's got plenty of drag on it, so we're not going to have to adjust it. It feels fine the way it is, so we're not going to adjust the parking brake. But if you had to, you need to get in through the back here with a screwdriver to adjust that little star wheel. But that's not the case here. All right, let's get set up, and we'll change that hardware kit next. Now we can take this brake pad out like this brake pad out like that, and then we're going to take out this one. This is the hardware, and this at the same time. Okay. Now any kind of rust that you have in this area right in here, and here, as well as here and here, needs to be cleaned off at this time. This does not have to be cleaned off. It's fine. But if it were, then you would come in here with a file, just like this, and you would clean it out just like that till you get everything nice and clean inside there. But like I said, that's not the case right here. It's nice and clean. All right, then we put a little bit of silicone every place that hardware kit's going to touch, just like that. Okay, then we take our clips like this, put the clip over the top, just like that, and push this down, and make sure that this clip right inside here is pushed down all the way, otherwise it's going to interfere with the rotor when you put the rotor back on. All right, we're going to put our clip back on over this side here, just like this, and again push it over the top and make sure that clip is down in there all the way, which it is. All right. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is let's take out these slide pins. You want to keep the slide pins in the location where you removed them from. We're just going to clean off any kind of grease that's on there, and then we're just going to put a very slight bead on here like this, and then we'll take this, put it back in, and make sure that the boot pops right back up to the top there. Same thing on this one. Now there is brake cleaner on this rag, just so you know. Just like that. And then we'll just push it back in. Make sure it pops up all the way on the top. And that's it. It's up as far as it has to go. Okay. Next thing we're going to do now is every place that the brake pad is going to touch, we're going to put a little bit of silicone, just like this. Okay? And now we're going to take our brake pads, and you want to make sure, you see the brake pad here? This one here is the center, where the piston touches. So you want to make sure that your indicator is in the correct location. As you can see, this indicator is a mirror image of that. So this one here is not the inner shoe. This is the outer shoe. Is the shoe that has the clip is on the correct side. You can see how this was the mirror image? So this one is not the correct one. All right, so this is the one that goes on the inside, just like this. And that's how that goes right there. We'll turn this around. And this one you can see, it's the same as this one right here. So we're going to take the other brake pad and we're going to put it in right here. We'll put this one in here just like this. And this. And that is what it's supposed to look like when it's all put back together. Now we'll go over to the car and we'll put this back on the vehicle. Okay, let me take this and put it over the top like this. And squeeze the brake pads together. And you catch both of the bolts that hold the mounting bracket. We'll snug these up. Make sure your brake pads are pushed in all the way. We're going to take a little bit of the silicone, the synthetic silicone, and we're just going to lubricate every place that the brake pad is going to touch. You don't have to have a lot, just a little bit. Lift it over the top like this. Push the slide pin in a little bit. Same thing on the bottom. Catch the both bolts. Before we tighten anything up, we're just going to catch both of them. And we'll just snug them down. Now remember what I told you, if this rotates here, you can hold that with the 18mm wrench. That's it, we're all done. All right. Let me just recap everything we did. All right, so I will clean this off one more time to make sure that all of the grease is off of here. We changed our hardware kit. We lubricated every place that the brake pad is going to touch. We made sure our 18mm bolts here and down on the bottom here are both tight. We installed our new brake pads and lubricated where the brake pad is going to touch onto that metal clips. We lubricated our slide pins. We put every place that the brake pad is going to touch on the caliper, we lubricated with a little bit of that synthetic grease, as well as the piston where it touches the brake pad. And now we tightened up. The last thing we did was we tightened up the 14mm here and here, and that's it. We're ready to roll. All right. Okay, so that's it. We have the front brakes done, the front rotors done, hardware done, rear rotors done, rear hardware done, rear brake pads done. That's it, we're ready to drive. We're obviously going to put the wheels back on the car, tighten them up, and then we're going to get in the vehicle. We're going to pump that brake pedal because, like I was telling you in the front, every time you pump it, that piston pushes out a little bit each time until it comes in contact with the rotor, and then you'll have a nice firm pedal. If you get in the vehicle and try to drive it without pumping that up, you're going to step on the brakes and it's going to go right to the floor and you're going to have a problem. So make sure that you pump that pedal up before you drive it. That's it, we're done. All right, as always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.